Whether you're conquering professional exams or personal milestones, we welcome you to Beyond Clean's Confidence Certification, the 52-week test prep podcast series. With expert insights, actionable tips, and engaging discussions, we'll break down the toughest concepts in sterile processing and build your confidence every step of the way. Join host Sarah B. Cruz as she embarks on a mission to help you not just prep for tests, but craft your success story. And now your host, Sarah B. Cruz.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Confidence Certification, a 52-week test prep podcast series to equip you to take your sterile processing career to the next level. I'm your host, Sarah B. Cruz, and on this episode, we will be covering all things study groups. Yes, we will dive deep into the opportunities that come of this group collaboration and understanding. And we'll also discuss the possible setbacks of maybe having too many voices all at once, right? Okay, so it's even more important that we discuss how to assure the study group is actually beneficial to everyone involved, especially you, right? So, what is a study group? Well, according to Webster Dictionary, a study group is a group of people joining in the study of a particular topic and usually meeting at scheduled intervals to discuss individual observations, reading, and research. So, if the idea of being amongst a group of individuals and collaborating on the understanding of a particular subject, like a chapter in a sterile processing workbook, study groups may be right for you. I know I say study group and some of us cringe at the idea, right? No, I personally just flash back to the days in high school when being assigned group projects or in-class assignments. I loathed any group activity. I really just wanted to work by myself. And honestly, I didn't really learn how to be a team player until sterile processing came along. But some may actually really benefit from study groups, even the ones that are cringing. Because study groups really help you with that deeper understanding. You know, explaining concepts to one another really reinforces that understanding. The action of teaching someone the knowledge that you hold really solidifies comprehension, but it also helps you identify gaps of understanding that you didn't realize you were experiencing. This collaboration also allows you to work with your peers, really share your insight and learn from each other. Discussing challenging concepts, clarifying any doubts you might have, and really help gaining a different perspective on a topic can be very motivating. And we just talked about how action and motivation can build momentum, right? And let's not forget time management. I absolutely need help with my time management. So a study group helps distribute the workload. You can divide topics, research, and even summarize information, making it available to everyone and really helping to drive down the amount of time it takes to build that comprehension. I know that if somebody summarized the decontamination chapter to me the first time, I would have greatly appreciated it. But with that being said, it also helps with accountability. When you commit yourself to a study group, you're more likely to stay on track, right? Regular meetings create that sense of responsibility and also help motivate you to prepare and participate actively. And that's really great if you're one of our kinesthetic learners, just getting into that action. And lastly, my favorite part is that social support. Studying can be isolating, but study groups provide social interaction. You'll build connections, help reduce stress, and even enjoy the sense of camaraderie. And who knows, maybe you'll see them at your next sterile processing facility when you get your jobs after you pass your test, right? So let's let that set in while we hear a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, we will talk about the ugly side of study groups. It's time for our mid-episode confidence boost, where we focus on a key sterile processing test concept. Now, there's no guarantee these concepts will be on the test that you'll take, but they are key concepts to the workplace and are discussed in the literature. Today, we'll cover surgical site infections. A surgical site infection, also known as an SSI, is an infection that occurs after surgery in the part of the body where the surgery took place. These infections can vary in severity. SSIs can affect the skin, tissues under the skin, organs, or implanted materials. SSIs are a significant concern because they can prolong hospital stays, increase the risk of death, and sometimes necessitate additional surgeries. The bacteria responsible for SSIs can enter the surgical wound through the skin, air, or even surgical instruments. That's going to wrap this week's mid-session confidence boost. Good luck. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Before the break, we were talking about all the great things that can come out of study groups. And believe me, there were a lot. But I want to focus on the ugly side of study groups, right? It's time to talk about the cons. And for all my cringers out there, maybe you've experienced some of these and why we're so adverse to them, right? But some of the cons to study group is that time commitment. Group study requires a significant amount of time commitment, and coordinating schedules can be the biggest challenge. It also requires everyone in the group to work at a slower pace. Study groups may progress more slowly than individual study. Discussion and reviews, they take time, and you have to ensure that everyone's on the same page. Let's take into consideration the different learning styles within that study group. Not everybody learns effectively in a group setting, and not everybody's study style mixes very well in that group setting. So some of us have different learning styles and may actually prefer to study alone. And I actually suffer the most with this in a study group: distractions. Group study can be distracting if the participants are engaged in socializing rather than focusing on the material. I can't tell you the number of times I was all ready to study and I got my coffee and we're in the group, and then we just end up talking about everything except for what we're studying. It's almost like we used it as a study break instead of a study group, right? No, but it could become a real life issue, right? Like we said, studying is isolating. So have a cup of coffee and talk to people. No. So now that we know the good, the bad, and even the ugly sides of study groups, let's look at what is important to an effective work group. So the first thing that's necessary to have an effective study group is establishing those norms, right? We have to set clear expectations for the behavior of people in the groups, the attendance, and the participation. If you join a study group and you're not holding up your end of the bargain, like you're not prepared, you're not collaborating, you're not going to be a beneficial member to the group. And if you say that you're going to do that, you have to do that, or just don't join the group, right? Which leads into the next important aspect: effective communication. Active listening is a huge part of effective work groups. Waiting for someone to finish talking so that you can say what you have been thinking about the entire time will limit the exchange of information. Active listening encourages everyone to listen attentively during discussion. So you can't be removed just because you're not the one talking, And on top of that, respectful feedback really is going to provide that good environment for everyone to feel heard and voice questions. And then eventually you may have to have effective conflict resolution, right? If there's conflict within the group, one, it's probably pointing out that some people may not have been the right fit for the group, but we have to make sure that everyone understands that we need to be respectful. Some ways we can help with this is actually by structuring our work group or study group sessions, okay? I'm not saying you have to have a detailed agenda, but everybody needs to discuss what each session is going to be about those goals, right? What topics are you going to cover? And then that time that you're going to spend on it. If you're only going to meet an hour, one person can't monopolize 30 minutes of that session talking about what they were assigned to research, and the other ones don't have their contribution, because it wouldn't be appropriate if you're running over time and people didn't anticipate to be there that long, right? And then I think some people forget that you do need a study break, even in study groups. Okay. So taking short breaks to maintain focus can help prevent burnout, and it can also help negate conflicts, right? You're not yourself when you're hungry. Yeah. So the last thing that's the most important with having an effective study group is really just evaluating its effectiveness. If you thought that study groups was really the best way to go about studying and you're finding that it's not working for you, that's okay. That effectiveness, that ability to evaluate the effectiveness, right? That reflection after the group study is really going to help you do what's best for yourself, right? And then even if you choose to stay in the study group, after you all head your own way, it's important to review what you all talked about and reinforce that learning. Okay. And again, including feedback to regularly assess how the group is working and functioning, not just how you are doing in the group, but how the whole group is working together. Are they? I know we've all been in those situations when somebody just throws their name on the poster board at the last second before we submit it. That's why I always hated group projects. I just rather do it alone, right? No, but making that adjustment, that necessary change based on the feedback, the self-assessment is really going to engage and change those outcomes for you. So for your homework, I want you to investigate your impression of the phrase, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Is there a way to balance and incorporate individual and group study in your test preparation? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. So however you react to that statement will probably help you decide if you're going to go together or if you're going to go alone. That's going to wrap this week's episode, everyone. And we will see you next week for a very special guest that's going to be discussing neurodivergency and how to effectively study for testing. Thanks. See you next time. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. For more sterile processing education and resources, make sure to visit beyondclean.net or follow Beyond Clean on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to check out over 1,000 SPD related videos at youtube.com/beyondclean. If you have any questions or comments for the show, you can reach out to info@beyondclean.net. Finally, make sure to download the Beyond Clean mobile app on the Apple and Android app stores so that you don't miss a future episode of any of the other awesome Beyond Clean podcasts. My name's Sarah B. Cruz, and you've been listening to Confidence Certification. Until next time, keep fighting dirty and pass that test with confidence.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast series are of Sarah B. Cruz only and do not represent the companies she works for or collaborates with.